Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy, what is today, Sunday to you and your family. I hope you're having a great weekend as well. Taking another look at Dogecoin here. I get a tremendous amount of requests for this, even though it is moving on its way down, so I figured I'd go ahead and cover that again here today. Just helping you understand kind of roughly where we're at with things and where it might go next, because it's kind of performing pretty much exactly like I expected, with some minor pumps here and there. But once again, the overall trend is still moving down. So we got to recognize the fact that it is closing below key level support / resistance level, allowing for us to understand that further downside is probable. Okay, Bitcoin dominance is up, altcoins are starting to come down. All right, so that being said, that's kind of where we're at. I'm not a financial advisor, though, just bear that in mind. I do love teaching people to trade. If you would like to become a better trader, cryptocash.tech is a website, link in the description below. You can actually join over 250 active members at this time. We're all learning and growing together. And it's an amazing community too, because if you come in here, you take a look at some of the trade results here. We got some awesome trades going on with basically just community members sharing what they do, sharing their success. Because I think it's really important to focus on the positives sometimes, because there's a lot of negative in trading, and it's important to recognize that. Some other positives too is yesterday we took 58% profit from Solana in under 2 hours. And then of course, prior to that, you can see a handful of other things as well. Bitcoin, 2 days, 65%, and what was it? Ethereum, 50% in only 2 days. Or sorry, that's Bitcoin. Ethereum was a little larger at 83%. So again, taking a lot of profits this week. It's been a really good week for us, both to the upside and the down. So just make sure that you are cautious and careful when you take trades. But again, if you want to take better trades, I've got you covered. But very last thing too, highly recommend you join with the link in the description below, Bitget, and use them as the exchange moving forward. They're the best exchange I've ever used, and they have a King's Cup Global Invitation coming up here. It's essentially registration is between now and November 20th, and there's a tremendous amount of results, or more so, a tremendous amount of rewards for just engaging in that. I've got over 9 members here. Well, actually exactly 9 members so far. We need 11 to qualify, so I think we're going to fit that pretty soon here. But if you want to be part of that, feel free to use the link in the description below. And also bear in mind too that there's monthly giveaways. They gave away $10,000 to my community last month for competition based on volume and profit loss ratio. So really awesome stuff. Love to see that happen. So here's the thing with Dogecoin. We're going to take a look at some standard stuff. First of all, here's a very positive thing. I like to find this as positive, is that we're under 70 on the RSI finally. Keep in mind also that when you are over 70, oftentimes it can work as a bouncing point. And right now, it isn't, at least tentatively so far today. Today's candlestick hasn't closed yet, so we cannot say that that is official, but it's typically a bearish sign when you break below 70 after being momentous like this for so long. Same thing with the MACD. As I've been talking about this for a while, ever since we started to break to the downside, the likelihood of the divergence is getting higher. Okay, so there is a potential we lose support here at about 11.58, just by say 11.6 cents. We are going to see further downside. Now, as I mentioned yesterday too, if we close below 12.6, which I want to just kind of highlight this really quick, that's this red line here, essentially the lowest Fibonacci retracement level at 0.236. We can see at 12.6 cents, we got a rejection there. We had a candle wick up, and then obviously right back down where the candlestick closed lower than it had opened. That's typically an ominous sign. It tells us that we're going to probably see further downside to follow, and the fact that that's below a key level resistance implies we should see further downside. So again, yesterday I mentioned, if you saw the video, closure below 12.6, we're going to see red. If we close above, we're likely to see green. Big surprise, we're seeing red today. Okay. Now, I don't care what you think about fundamentals, while that is still important in some cases, technical analysis here for the win once again. Okay, keeps me at an 85% success rate overall in my trading. I can tell you there's definitely a science to it. Don't let anyone else prove you wrong. Well, actually, I can prove you wrong, but on the same accord, don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Anyways, I like to say that just because there's a lot of folks kind of, I don't know, trolling the comments, saying that TA doesn't really matter. What's the point? In truth, it is slightly less relevant in coins like this that are like, community coins, but on the same accord, it's still very much relevant. And I would say that every time I've referred to the price that's likely going to come back and pull down, it definitely has done so. Okay. Again, a lot of it's just based on overextension. It's really simple, really straightforward stuff. Let's take a look at the moving averages. We can see we're above all of those. So good news is the price does continue to decrease. We will have that work as a potential support level moving forward. We also want to look at some interesting things here, because if the price were to come back down further, we want to reverse these Fibonacci retracement levels and kind of see how much lower it could go. So just to kind of give you perspective, if we do lose 11.6 cents, we could see somewhere in the range of 10.4. Okay, so round number, just say 10 cents would be the next potential lower point there for Dogecoin. Okay, so again, just something to kind of think about, future reference, heads up, that's all that good stuff. So here's something we want to kind of recognize. First of all, we are kind of stuck in this little channel. So in truth, we may not lose either support or resistance level. We could just be stuck in a range-bound activity. That happens a lot when prices are consolidating after a significant increase. This is actually very positive in the overall sense of things, because it could imply the price would come up from here if we can maintain the price point or this range for some time. If we do lose this range and drop below 10.8, or sorry, 11.6 rather, we are definitely going to see that 10 cent range potentially tested, okay? But if we look here, again, RSI isn't a determining factor when you are range bound, but we are below 50. Generally speaking, at this point, it's not positive. That's once again that 12.6 range stuck underneath that resistance level. And you can kind of see how Fibonacci is working as a pretty strong resistance and or support level here at this point. But right now, we got to expect 12.6 to be the new resistance until it proves otherwise, all right? Taking a look here at the MACD, we're also diverging as well. You can see this starting to pick up a little bit of momentum. So it does imply further downside is likely. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to just drop like a rock. You got to recognize that the sky isn't going to fall, but there's potential for it too, because we are on this very large cliff, and there's a strong chance that we could very well see the price continue to bleed out. If we take a look at some of these things here, we could, I guess we could put out a trend line here and kind of see if that holds. I typically like to use trend lines based on candle wicks and support and resistance levels on candlesticks, okay? So I get that question a lot, like how do you do that? Well, generally speaking here with this, we can see that that should work as a resistance continuing to go lower. So if in the next 12 to 24 hours, if we see the price action continue to digress and retest 11.6 at least once or twice more, we can absolutely expect it to break to the downside. This is essentially a candlestick pattern where we can see the price action works itself into a wedge, and typically it works its way down. But once again, there are other inverse scenarios where the price can do this and work itself up as well for the next leg up. It just depends on if we can break above this trend line or not. If we break below, we can expect to go lower. Break above, strong likelihood of an upside from here. Okay, we're still a little premature and early on that sense, so I'm at this point where it's like wait for confirmation. And to me, confirmation is breaking us above the trend line and a handful of other factors, preferably a candlestick closure above 12.6 on the daily. That's also equally as important. Taking a look at the 1 hour, let's go ahead and see if there's any overextension based on TD sequential. Not really. We got a 9 here previously, leg down, a lot of consolidation, and another leg down as well. So it's not really following specific patterns and hitting extreme circumstances. It is performing fairly regularly, if you will, for a coin like this. If we take a look at the Ichimoku Cloud, though, we do have confirmation that we are almost full confirmation letting us know that a short position might be viable. Lagging span is free and clear price action. It doesn't really include candle wicks, so we're good there. We've got another 12 to 24 hours at least to leave your short position open if you have one. Same thing with the conversion line being below the baseline. While it's not tight, we don't have a tremendous amount of momentum. That is still positive to the downside. In other words, reiterating the fact that we should leave our short position open. And obviously we're below both leads. Coincidentally, both upper and lower leads consolidating right at the resistance of 12.6. Again, a pretty consistent theme you'll see with the cloud and support and resistance levels. They also work in most cases concurrent with trend lines. And you can see here the lower lead later in the week, essentially, I would say more so within 12 to 24 hours, we're going to see that potentially tested, is moving down with this trend line. Okay, again, fairly ominous, or more so bearish than anything. So in truth, we see a lot more bearish qualities than we do bullish qualities. And until it proves otherwise, we have to expect it to continue lower. That's essentially the premise that I go on when I take a trade. Again, I don't trade coins like this because I don't really love their volatility and how strange they can react. But generally speaking, they're fairly predictable. And right now, we're expecting further downside based on what we see here so far. So there is potential, keep in mind, for small potential for double bottom. We could see that too. That is tentatively forming. But once again, until we break back above this trend line here, we are not in good shape to be able to take a long. Furthermore, if you were to take a long position, wait for confirmation above 12.6, and obviously you want to see, at the very least, higher lows being formed. So we want to start seeing higher lows where the price action is coming up and getting essentially higher on the lower time frames, or higher with the lows, if that makes any sense. Because trend reversals, essentially what you want to look at, if the price is moving down, you want to look for higher lows on the way up. That helps you understand you're switching and transitioning. Higher highs are less relevant. Inverse applies to the downside, or sorry, to the upside. You want to look for lower highs. So again, small little things that you kind of add up here, all kind of giving us the indication that further downside is probable. Again, we could very well see a bounce here soon, but it doesn't look good until we break the descending trend or close above 12.6. All right, so that's kind of what we're looking at there for Dogecoin. Hopefully that was helpful and informative to you, and you can make some sense of what I explained there. But again, this is all just a combination of years of trading. 17 years, I've figured things out. I wouldn't say it's a foolproof plan. No one's a perfect trader, but again, statistically, we are looking at further downside here, and I would just recommend waiting. If you're trying to take a long position, absolutely wait for confirmation. If you're trying to short, I would say get in sooner than later, potentially. In order to continue to ride it out. Again, the cloud is telling us that a short position is viable at this point. Not saying you want to open one now, but if you have one open, by all means, continue to ride it out. Okay? Take those profits as you go along as well. Do not forget to take profits. Extremely important. As a wise trader once said, if you're not taking profits, you're not going to be profitable. Right? It's kind of a funny way of looking at it, but in truth, you cannot get greedy. They say, like in truth, to me, again, depending on your overall perspective, diamond hands are not appropriate for situations like this. Holding on forever, what's the point if you're never going to cash out? You got to take profits while you can if you are trading on shorter time frames. If this is your coin for years to come, by all means, hold on to it, right? And don't listen to anything you just heard today. But for the most part, you're probably likely trading on smaller time frames, or buying and selling more frequently if you're watching this. And I would recommend waiting for the price to come down further before it comes back up again. All right, that's pretty much everything I got here. Thanks again for joining me. Look forward to seeing the next one. Take good care.